Making decisions to buy, sell or maintain your livestock numbers at critical times often involves a bit of guesswork to plan for the future. Now the FORAGE Pasture Growth Alert report can reduce some of that guesswork. The first part of this video gives a brief overview of the Pasture Growth Alert report and provides a broad understanding of information contained in the report. For a more in-depth tutorial on how to use the report, continue watching through until the end of the video. The Pasture Growth Alert report is a 4-page report that can assist with stocking rate decisions, grazing land management and drought preparation by providing a rating on past and future pasture growth based on a range of modelled and observed data. So let's go through a Pasture Growth Alert report page by page. Page 1. On page 1 of the report, you'll see a quick explanation of the report, a map identifying your property location, and background information providing useful rainfall, pasture growth, and cover statistics for your property. Next, you'll see the pasture growth and resilience risk indicator dial, much like a fire hazard warning sign. It has 6 positions, from very low to very high risk, and an arrow indicating the current risk of reduced pasture growth and pasture resilience risk for the next 6 months. The risk is derived from a 3-factor decision assessment to determine a position on the indicator dial. In this case, there is a low risk of reduced pasture growth and resilience for the next 6 months. Breaking that down further, the risk assessment is based on the tercile positions of 3 key factors. They are the last 12-month modelled pasture growth, the next 6 months growth forecast, and the satellite-derived total cover for the past month. These 3 key factors are described in the summary section. In case you aren't aware, terciles are calculated by taking the long-term data, ranking it from lowest to highest, and then dividing it into 3 equal parts, the lower, middle, and upper terciles. In your summary, you'll also see other relevant information, such as the last 12 months rainfall and the next 6 months rainfall forecast. The last point to note on page 1 is the management consideration section, which provides a broad suggestion of actions in order to reduce the current level of risk and to improve pasture resilience. Page 2. On page 2 of the Pasture Growth Alert, we have the pasture growth accumulation history for the location property. Firstly, we have a timeline of recent pasture growth showing kilograms of dry matter per hectare over a 12-month period. The shaded area is the accumulative middle tercile of pasture growth for the same 12-month periods over the past 100 years, and we consider it represents the long-term average growth. Now the black line is the last 12-month accumulated growth, and the last point here matches the 12-month value stated in the page 1 background information. In this analysis, it clearly sits in the middle tercile. This gives the first key factor in the assessment summary. Next, lower down on page 2 is the pasture growth outlook. This is a 6-month growth outlook, starting from the beginning of the current month of the report request. Again, the shaded area is the middle tercile for the last 100 years and represents the long-term average growth for that period. The dots show the next 6 months estimated growth. As with the previous graph, it's important to note where the last point sits, as it is another key factor for the risk assessment. Here it sits in the upper tercile. This gives us the second key factor in the assessment summary on page 1. Now, if any modelled growth has occurred in the current month of your request, it will show up here as a green vertical line. This current month's growth is updated in the model on a daily basis. Moving on to page 3, you'll find the total cover percentile map, which is used to derive the third risk factor on the page 1 summary. This map is generated from satellite imagery. It shows the most recent month's total cover percentiles for the selected property. It compares each 30-metre pixel across the historical record. By taking the median value of all the observable pixel values for the selected lot, we can see where it sits in the long-term tercile ranking. In this case, checking the value in the map title bar, the median value sits in the 90th percentile, which we know is in the upper tercile range, and also from looking at the assessment summary section on page 1. So to sum up, 2 of our 3 risk factors in the assessment are in the upper tercile, and 1 factor is within the middle tercile. From the risk indicator dial and the assessment summary section on page 1, there is a low risk outlook of reduced pasture growth and pasture resilience indicated for the next 6 months, which in turn links with the suggested management response listed on the bottom of page 1. Of course, you should always check that the results of the report make sense with what you see in the paddock. This brings us to the end of the assessment of the report section. Now, as the satellite image is a snapshot of the current month's cover compared against historical cover, using it with the map legend provides further interpretation for land management. The red, orange and yellow pixels represent the bottom 30 percentile range for the current month across all years, signifying potential pasture resilience issues, while the green and blue areas are in the higher cover percentile range for this month compared to history, indicating better cover ranking at the present time. Of course, local knowledge is required to interpret the map, as hotspots, the red, orange and yellow pixels, could be the result of recent fire, clearing or cultivation, and higher cover rankings could result from improved land management, but could also indicate growth from annual grass species, weeds or cropping. Using the FORAGE ground cover report can also assist in the interpretation. Page 4. Page 4 of the report shows rainfall and pasture growth percentile maps generated from the Aussie Grass Spatial Pasture Model, which provides a 12-month view of rainfall and pasture growth for regional context. So using the 12-month rainfall percentile map and legend, you can compare your property location within the Shire and also with surrounding Shire regions. The same comparisons can be made using the 12-month pasture growth percentile map. You can find further information on the Pasture Growth Alert report by visiting the FORAGE page on the Long Paddock website. You'll also find instructions on how to request reports and guiding information on any of the other reports. You can request the Pasture Growth Alert report as required, or on a 1, 2 or 3 month basis by using the free subscription option. You can also use the information to support decision making for stock adjustments, drought awareness and other grazing land management activities, such as the use of fire and planning agistment. For further information, visit the Long Paddock website, call the DAF Customer Service Centre on 132523 in Queensland, or email us